the young entrepreneur long before Surya Midha became one of the youngest self-made billionaires, before the headlines, before the billions, before artificial intelligence became one of the most important technologies in the world. He was simply a young entrepreneur fascinated by technology. From an early age, Surya developed a strong interest in computers, programming, and emerging technologies. He was curious about how software could solve problems that traditionally required enormous amounts of human effort. As he learned more about technology, his interest gradually moved toward artificial intelligence. I was becoming more powerful. Computers could process enormous amounts of information, algorithms could analyze data, and software could automate tasks that once required entire teams of people. For Surya, that created a huge opportunity. He began thinking beyond simply building software. He wanted to create technology that could solve real-world problems. One of the biggest problems he noticed was the labor market. Companies needed talented people, workers needed opportunities. Recruiting talented specialists could be slow, expensive, and inefficient. Traditional recruitment often depended on resumes, recruiters' interviews, and large amounts of manual work. Surya believed technology could make this process dramatically better. During his education in the United States, he continued developing his technical and entrepreneurial skills. He was surrounded by other ambitious young people interested in technology and startups. Eventually, he met Foody and Adarsh. Hiremath. The three young entrepreneurs shared a similar vision. They believed artificial intelligence could transform the way companies find and evaluate talent. Instead of simply building another job website, they wanted to create something much more sophisticated, a technology platform capable of connecting companies with highly skilled professionals. The idea was still in its early stages. There was no billion-dollar company, no enormous valuation, no global reputation, only a problem and three young entrepreneurs trying to solve it. That is how many great technology companies begin. Not with billions of dollars, but with a simple question: can technology solve this problem better? Surya Midha was ready to find out. The next step would be turning that idea into a real company. And that company would eventually become Mercor, one of the most closely watched startups in the new generation of technology companies. The idea behind Mercor began with a simple question: what if artificial intelligence could completely change the way companies find talented people? For Surya Midha, the traditional recruitment industry represented a massive opportunity. Companies needed highly skilled workers, professionals wanted better opportunities, but connecting the right person with the right company could take weeks or even months. Recruiters had to search through resumes, conduct interviews, evaluate skills, contact candidates, and coordinate the entire process manually. Surya Midha, together with Foody and Adarsh Hiremath, believed technology could make this process dramatically faster. They began building Mercor. Their vision was not simply to create another job board. Mercor was designed around artificial intelligence. The platform could help identify professionals, evaluate their skills, match them with companies, and automate parts of the recruitment process. The idea was particularly powerful because I could process enormous amounts of information much faster than a traditional recruitment team. Instead of relying entirely on keywords in a resume, technology could help analyze a candidate's experience and capabilities. Instead of sending hundreds of applications, professionals could potentially be matched with opportunities more efficiently. The founders were entering a huge global market. Companies spend enormous amounts of money searching for talented employees, and highly skilled workers are valuable to businesses in almost every industry. Mercor, as founders, saw an opportunity to connect these two sides using AI. But having an idea was only the beginning. They needed customers. They needed talented professionals. They needed companies willing to trust a young startup with an important part of their hiring process. The founders moved quickly. They developed the product, talked directly with potential customers, collected feedback, improved the technology, and continued experimenting with the business model. Then the startup began gaining traction. More professionals joined the platform, more companies became interested, the number of opportunities increased, and the company's growth began attracting attention from investors. This was an important turning point. Investors were no longer looking at Mercor as simply a project created by young entrepreneurs. They were beginning to see a potentially enormous business. Investment capital gave the company resources to expand. hire employees, improve its technology, develop new AI capabilities, and reach more customers. Mercor was entering the same broader technology wave that had transformed industries around the world. But recruitment was particularly interesting. Human resources had traditionally depended heavily on people. Mercor wanted to automate parts of that process with artificial intelligence. The potential was enormous. If the technology worked at scale, a small team could potentially serve companies across multiple countries. That is one of the most powerful characteristics of software. Once a product is built, it can reach thousands or even millions of users without requiring the same increase in physical infrastructure. Mercor began growing rapidly, and the company's valuation started rising. For the founders, this created something extremely important: ownership. They were not simply employees receiving salaries. They were founders who retained significant stakes in the company. If Mercor became more valuable, their ownership could become dramatically more valuable as well. This is how modern technology fortunes can be created. A young entrepreneur builds a company, investors provide capital. The company grows, its valuation increases, and the founder's equity becomes worth more. Mercor was still a young company, but its ambitions were enormous. The founders wanted to build more than a recruitment platform. How does a young entrepreneur become a billionaire? For Surya Midha, the answer is not a massive salary. It is ownership. When a founder creates a rapidly growing technology company, the most valuable asset can be the founder's equity. Surya Midha became a co-founder of Mercor alongside Foody and Adarsh Hiremath. As outside investors began putting money into the company, Mercor's valuation increased. And as the valuation increased, the value of the founder's ownership increased as well. This is one of the most important concepts behind modern technology fortunes. A founder does not need to receive $1 billion in cash. Instead, they can own a significant percentage of a company that investors believe is worth billions of dollars. Imagine a company valued at $1 billion. If a founder owns 20, that stake would theoretically be worth $200 million before considering dilution, taxes, restrictions, and other factors. If the company later becomes worth $5 billion, the same percentage would represent $1 billion. That is how paper wealth can grow extremely quickly. Mercor's business model is built around artificial intelligence and recruiting. The company aims to connect businesses with highly skilled professionals while using technology to automate parts of the traditional hiring process. Instead of relying entirely on recruiters, companies can use technology to discover and evaluate candidates more efficiently. The platform can help identify professionals based on their skills and experience, match them with potential opportunities, and streamline communication between companies and candidates. This creates value for both sides of the marketplace. Companies want talented people, professionals want access to better opportunities. Mercor sits between them, and when successful matches happen, the company can generate revenue through its business relationships and services. The potential market is enormous. Businesses around the world spend billions of dollars every year on recruitment and staffing. Technology companies are constantly searching for engineers. IT companies need researchers. Financial firms need analysts. Startups need developers. Large corporations need specialized professionals. The more companies Mercor serves, the more valuable its network can potentially become. Investors recognized the potential. Funding rounds brought additional capital into the company. That capital could be used to expand the team, improve artificial intelligence systems, develop new products, acquire customers, and expand into new markets. But investment also creates an important concept: dilution. When new investors purchase shares, the founder's percentage ownership can decrease. However, if the company grows much faster than the founder's percentage declines, their remaining stake can still become dramatically more valuable. This is the mathematics behind many startup fortunes. Ownership percentage matters, but company valuation matters just as much. A founder owning 30 of a 100 million company has a very different financial position from a founder owning 10 of a 10 billion company. That is why entrepreneurs often focus on building the company rather than maximizing their personal salary. The real objective is increasing the value of the business. For Surya Midha, Mercor's growth created exactly this kind of opportunity. A young entrepreneur could potentially build a company whose value was far greater than anything a traditional career could generate in the same period. But there is an important distinction. A startup valuation is not the same as cash in a bank account. When a company is valued at several $billion, that does not mean the founder has several $1 billion available to spend. Much of the wealth can exist as private company equity. Its value depends on future investment rounds, potential acquisitions, future public markets, and the company's ability to continue growing. This makes startup wealth both powerful and risky. If the company succeeds, the founders can become extraordinarily wealthy. If growth slows, the valuation can fall. That is why building a $1 billion technology fortune requires more than creating a popular product. It requires scale, capital, customers, innovation, and long-term execution. Mercor represents a new generation of technology businesses. Artificial intelligence is being used not only to create chatbots or software but to transform traditional industries. Recruitment is one of them, and Surya Midha's story demonstrates how quickly wealth can be created when technology ownership and a massive market come together. The biggest lesson is simple: salary pays you for the work you do. Equity pays you for the value of the company you help create. For founders of successful technology companies, that difference can be enormous. And for Surya Midha, Mercor became the vehicle that transformed a young entrepreneur's idea into a potentially $1 billion ownership story. Mercor was no longer just a young startup, it was becoming one of the most closely watched companies in the artificial intelligence economy. As the company attracted more customers, more investors began paying attention, and as new investment rounds pushed Mercor's valuation higher, the value of the founder's ownership increased dramatically. For Surya Midha, this created an extraordinary situation. At around 22 years old, he was suddenly being discussed as one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the world. But behind the headlines was a much more complicated reality. A billionaire founder does not necessarily have billions of dollars sitting in a bank account. Much of that wealth can exist as equity in a private company. Its value depends on the company's valuation, future investment rounds, potential liquidity events, and the ability of the business to keep growing. Still, the numbers were remarkable. A company created by a group of extremely young entrepreneurs had attracted major investors and built a valuation measured in the billions. That meant Mercor had entered a completely different category. The founders were no longer simply building a startup, they were now responsible for a company with enormous expectations. And that creates pressure. When a startup is valued at billions of dollars, investors expect growth, customers expect reliability, employees expect strong leadership, and competitors are watching closely. The artificial intelligence industry is one of the most competitive markets in the world. Every year new startups appear, existing technology companies invest billions, traditional industries begin adopting AI, and businesses search for new ways to automate their operations. Mercor operates directly inside this transformation. Its goal is to make finding and evaluating highly skilled professionals faster and more efficient, but the opportunity extends far beyond the United States. Companies around the world need specialized talent. Technology companies need engineers. Our laboratories need researchers. Financial institutions need experts. Startups need developers. And global businesses need people with increasingly specialized skills. This creates a potential international market for Mercor. The company can use software and artificial intelligence to connect businesses and professionals across borders. That is one of the biggest advantages of a technology platform. It does not need to build a physical office in every country. Software can cross borders almost instantly, but international expansion also creates new challenges. Different labor regulations, different markets, different languages, different expectations from employers and workers. The founders must solve these problems while continuing to improve the underlying technology. For Surya Midha, the responsibility is extraordinary. At an age when many people are just beginning their careers, he is helping lead a company attempting to transform an entire industry. There is no guarantee that Mercor will become a permanent global giant. The AI market changes incredibly quickly. Today's breakthrough technology can become tomorrow's standard feature. Competition can emerge overnight, and investors can change their expectations just as quickly. That makes execution critical. The founders must continue improving the product, attracting customers, building a strong team, developing better AI systems, and creating a business model capable of surviving different economic conditions. The goal is bigger than recruitment. Mercor is attempting to build infrastructure for the future of work. A world where artificial intelligence can help companies discover talent, evaluate expertise, and connect people with opportunities anywhere on the planet. If that vision succeeds, the impact could extend far beyond the recruiting industry. It could change how companies think about hiring, how professionals find work, and how global talent markets operate. For Surya Midha, the legacy, the story of Surya Midha represents a new generation of entrepreneurship. For decades, some of the world's greatest fortunes were built in industries like oil, finance, manufacturing, retail, and real estate. But technology changed the rules. Software could reach millions of people. The internet connected global markets, and artificial intelligence created an entirely new opportunity. Surya Midha and his co-founders understood this opportunity at a remarkably young age. Instead of creating another traditional recruitment company, they tried to rethink the entire process. How companies discover talent, how professionals find opportunities, how skills are evaluated, and how artificial intelligence can connect the two sides of the labor market. That idea became Mercor. What makes the story remarkable is not simply the size of the company's valuation, it is the speed. A small technology startup created by extremely young entrepreneurs began attracting customers, investors, and global attention. And as the company's value increased, so did the potential value of the founder's ownership. This represents a new model of wealth creation. In the traditional economy, a person might spend decades building a career. Income grows gradually, savings accumulate, investments compound over time. But technology can create a different path. A founder can build a product that reaches a massive market. If the company succeeds, its valuation can increase dramatically, and the founder's ownership can become extremely valuable. That does not mean the wealth is guaranteed. Startup valuations can rise and they can fall. Competition can become stronger, technology can change, customers can leave, new companies can appear. The real challenge is building something that continues creating value. That is why Mercor's future matters more than any billionaire headline. The company is operating in one of the fastest changing industries in the world. Artificial intelligence is transforming businesses, companies are automating repetitive tasks. AI is changing software development, it is changing customer service, it is changing research, and increasingly it is changing how companies think about human talent. Mercor's vision fits directly into this transformation. Imagine a future where a company needs a highly specialized expert. Instead of spending weeks searching through resumes, an AI-powered platform could identify qualified professionals almost instantly. Instead of relying entirely on traditional interviews, technology could help evaluate skills and experience. Instead of limiting opportunities to one city or one country, companies could access talent from around the world. If that vision becomes reality, the impact could be enormous. It could make the global labor market more connected, it could create new opportunities for talented professionals, and it could help companies find specialized skills faster. For Surya Midha, this may ultimately become more important than becoming a billionaire, because wealth is only one measurement of entrepreneurial success. The bigger question is, what did you build? Did you create something useful? Did you solve a real problem? Did you make an industry more efficient? Did you create opportunities for other people? And did your company continue creating value after the original idea was created? These are the questions that will define Mercor's true legacy. Surya Midha's story also demonstrates the importance of ownership. A founder's greatest financial asset may not be a salary. It may be the company itself. That is why startup founders can sometimes create enormous fortunes at remarkably young ages. They are not simply working for a company. They own part of the company they are building. And when millions or billions of dollars of value are created, that ownership can become extremely powerful. But with ownership comes responsibility. The higher the valuation, the greater the expectations. The larger the company becomes, the harder it becomes to maintain the speed and creativity of a small startup. Surya Midha is still very young. His story is far from finished. Mercor's future will depend on innovation, execution, competition, and the ability to adapt as artificial intelligence continues evolving. But the story has already demonstrated something important. The next generation of billion-dollar companies may not look like the companies of the past. They may be smaller, more technological, more global, and built around artificial intelligence from the beginning. The story of Surya Midha represents that new era, a young entrepreneur, a massive problem, artificial intelligence, a rapidly growing company, and a model of wealth based on ownership rather than salary. The ultimate lesson is simple: age does not determine the size of an idea. A teenager or a 20-year-old entrepreneur can identify a global problem, build technology to solve it, and potentially create billions of dollars in economic value. But the real legacy will not be the valuation, it will be whether the technology actually changes people as lives. Because creating wealth can make someone rich, but creating something that transforms an industry can make their work unforgettable.